Going for a walk, and we're gonna talk. Oh yeah. Barney the Wonder Dog is there with Sean on the Mind Walk podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put it on stage, baby.
I could say any number of things. Let's try this.
Let's go. Right there.
No goat versus fish mask today.
No goat versus fish mask today.
Oh no.
Just what I had on hand.
Barney. No. Barney. Okay, Mark. It's on there. It'll work.
Yeah. The coordinated mark is probably never the way to go, right?
Well, I mean, looking at the sound thing, it'll be like two lines right in a row, and I'll be like, there it is.
But the idea that we would
try to synchronize. Come on, bud. He's looking at me like, oh, we're gonna do this? Yes, we're doing this.
So I started.
Yes.
As you saw me scoping around there, you can probably guess what I was doing.
I wasn't sure.
You could perhaps guess what I was doing. I won't say probably.
Are you gonna shoot something here?
I'm gonna shoot you here.
Oh, well, I've been shot here before.
No, I was checking to see. Granted, you could be parked somewhere else. So it's like, can I find Sean's car?
I had to
or
park across the street.
If okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna see. I was like, I didn't see his car in here. Maybe.
Yeah.
You figured out his car situation.
Not yet. I mean, I've got a lead on a thing, but it may not work out until January.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to drive this one into the ground. Just let it fucking corrode into nothing. I feel like that's the most environmental thing to do, right?
Oh yeah. So which way are we going?
Let's go this way. Let's go, bud. Come on. No, Barney. There's a lot of dogs there, bud. There's a lot. You're going to get in trouble.
Fuck you.
You know where it goes? Does it go down to the road?
It does loop. There's a fire road there. Did you go to the fire road?
Yeah, the Fireman Road where we came in. Fireman Road or whatever.
Yeah. So it does. It goes. Yeah. This part goes down to Fryman, but then there's there's a road back there. It loops. Yeah.
Pass it this way or this way? You know.
Well, you're going back. You're going back to Fryman.
Yeah.
Go down this way.
Okay. Thank you. Where did Dom?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where are you going? Oh.
No worries.
Hey, get over here. Saucy. Yeah, just I'm gonna get $2,500 from the city.
Oh, okay.
For having a gross polluter.
Oh, they're paying you to pollute. You've made it to the big leagues.
Well, they're paying me to. Well, it's weird. To me, it's like it seems like such a contradiction, right? If I continue to drive this car, even though it can't pass smog,
yeah,
it's more environmentally friendly to stretch out the use of this vehicle than for me to purchase a new vehicle.
I mean, probably. I haven't done the math on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's, like, I don't know. I mean, I would say probably, but, you know, you would, you know, an analysis could be done.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And, you know, it's just, I appreciate living in California where we have some of the cleanest air laws regarding, you know, cars anywhere in the world. So we're in a positive space for whatever, for the whole overall air quality index in California.
Yeah, it's certainly, lo and behold, when you have regulations on pollution, then, like, the air quality improves, you know?
Yeah.
It's been worse in California. It could be a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
But it could be worse.
Oh, yeah. So I am listening to Jim Carrey's new book, Memoirs and Misinformation. And
Oh.
it is very, very good. And it happens to be read by Jeff Daniels. So one of the best
interesting.
voice actors.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Carrey, he's definitely seems like a guy you would be, like, very, very interested in.
Yeah.
For me, he's a guy I'm, like, interested in.
I mean, again, this is like kind of the way I think of him a lot is kind of the way I think of Warhol. I don't particularly like Warhol's work, but I like his life as an artist. You know, I like the kind of the message that he was putting out there as a creative, not necessarily the actual work itself. And I kind of feel the same way about Jim Carrey. I like a lot of his movies.
Oh, yeah, I like, I mean, the Ace Venturas, I love those movies. At least, yeah. And then, and, like, what's undeniable is just his physical performance and his commitment to what he's doing is totally unparalleled. I mean, that, regardless of what you think of the, it's almost like, okay, is the product greater than the sum of its parts? Perhaps not. But if you just look at the part that Jim Carrey is doing, it's like, it's amazing stuff.
Phenomenal. Well, and I find with a lot of comedies, this could be said even of Saturday Night Live, it's like, you know, maybe they have 2 or 3 good sketches a week, but they still have an hour to fill. So it's like, you know, they got a band, and sometimes the band does pretty good in that opening monologue. But in general, you know, 80% of any Saturday Night Live is not memorable. You know.
I don't know. When I watch, they're just too. The sketches are just. Not to say the formula can't work, but sometimes I watch them and it's like, oh, this is just too. It's just too paint by the numbers for me, you know.
I personally think sketch is a failing art.
Uh huh.
I mean, you know, they can only be relevant sometimes just the week that they make them.
Okay,
know?
well, I would say that is a different issue from sketch being a failing art. That has to do with like you could say the same thing of the Daily Show. Like that has to do with doing weekly format.
How they're writing. But I'm also saying,
but if you look at like Python sketches, like those didn't have to be. Some of them are dated, it's true, but like they weren't written necessarily because like to satirize a particular thing that was happening in the moment. You know, they were more.
But I would still say that the life of the particular comedy of the sketches that they wrote. Yeah, there's some, you know, I'd say, you know, they still have a higher ratio, but partially it's because they were some of the first people to do it.
Well,
you know?
They weren't one of the first people to do sketch. That's not really true.
No, I'm saying like the first kind of group of televised, you know, you got whatever, Goon Squad and, there's a couple other Wooster and no, that was a regular. There was a couple sketch shows before them, but again, like is vaudeville sketch?
I mean, a lot of it is. I mean, I considered Who's on First to be sketch.
Yeah.
But you know, the Python had because they've written about it, you know, extensively in their own philosophical musings on their work. You know, they rejected punchlines, for example. You know, so they would say, you know, when the sketch stopped being funny, they would just cut to something else or whatever.
And now for
And
something completely different.
so in that way, and also just because, and you know, I have a soft spot for absurdism, so I'm definitely biased in my analysis, you know. But
Come on. Oh. He's only grumpy because I'm picking him up. Go. Oh.
you know, to me, absurdism is always relevant,
Yes.
and you know, any critique of meaning is always relevant. So, you know, their approach to sketch, I think, yes, it had formula, but it was also a deliberate attempt to break formula, and that gave its sketches a quality that I like quite a lot. But, you know, Saturday Night Live isn't attempting to break formula. You know, Saturday Night Live isn't really attempting absurdism at all.
Yep.
They're just like, these people are in this place, in this situation, and sort of the dialogue flows, and, you know, the situation heightens, and then it concludes in some kind of thing, and then there's, like, you know, some kind of punchline that may or may not be, and probably isn't the funniest thing in the sketch.
No.
And it's just maybe just like a button. So
it's
I
interesting.
agree that sketch is struggling. I think the weekly format doesn't help in that regard. I think that's its own issue, I guess.
Sure.
I kind of
for
parse
sure.
it.
But I would say, to me, like, I don't... Personally, I don't like watching too much sketch, and I don't ever feel like writing sketch. Like, you know, it doesn't... I mean, I suppose if you do, even certain kind of comedy bits have a sketch-like quality to them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the line between all of these things gets very blurry.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
ostensibly,
even a monologue could be called sketch, you know, depending on how you do it, you know?
Yep. A little skit, a little bit.
Yeah, your little comedy skits. Isn't that funny how skit is just a word that's like, I'm more serious. I'm a sketch, Mom. I'm not a skit.
Yes. Well, skit is what you do at camp.
Right.
It also sounds like scat. And Skit Scat would be a great name for a sketch troupe.
Well, I mean, skit scat's a good name for an improv troupe, please.
Yeah.
So then there's improv, right?
Which has...
So where does improv fall to you in relation to, like, would you prefer to watch, you know, sketch or improv? Would you prefer to watch good sketch or good improv?
Improv all the way. I mean, whatever. The evolution of most of, like, improv people is into a sketch environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
I mean, it sort of became its own art form, but was originally, well, not originally, it had a few, the origins of improv probably could be tackled from so many different directions, but, you know, a lot of what they say is like, and if your improv works well, then, like, you can turn it into a sketch, you know?
Well, so that's the Groundlings model, is improvise until you get ideas and then write those ideas down.
Yeah, I don't know, I prefer, I mean, I've seen some good improv that definitely opened my eyes to, like, what some superior improv could be.
Sure, yeah.
But, I don't know, I find, I guess I still kind of prefer sketch because, I mean, I'd rather watch, you know, good improv than bad sketch. I mean, you know, I'm talking very broadly. But the sad thing to me about a lot of improv is how formulaic it is anyway.
Sure.
So it's like you're not really escaping it. And for me, you know, and again, this is from the absurdist perspective, still, like, once you... Like, I wanted to go more absurdist in my improv when I was doing it in high school.
Yeah.
And beyond. And I was able to do it because I was surrounded by a friend group. We all knew each other really well. And we all shared comedic timing and sensibilities to the degree where we could do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then once I started looking into the broader improv world after college, there was this sort of, like, tightening of expectations. It's kind of like, well, you're going to be performing with all these kinds of people. that you don't necessarily have that rapport with. So, like, in lieu of that rapport, it became like, well, if you follow these guidelines,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
then you can all improvise together. And then it just became kind of restrictive and felt, I mean, it was freeing in the sense that you didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but like by comparison to sketch, like if I'm writing a sketch,
You can make
which I
whatever
have
happen.
done. I've written a sketch show.
Yeah.
Like, you can set up the pins only to not knock them down. I mean, you could do anything because you have the ability to, like, shift off balance really radically because you know how to catch yourself on the other side.
It's a lion.
Yeah, he's got a little line cut. Hey, repeat that last part.
Oh, just you can, when you're writing it, like, you can set up the pieces in a way that,
You can either
like there might be a way to subvert expectations that, like, would only work comedically if it happens, like, in a very particular kind of way. Whereas, like, in improv, in order to have that happen would be, you know, incredibly rare. That all of those little tokens would be hit along the way
Sure.
to get that particular outcome.
Sure.
So in a way, it's kind of like fixing the comedic dice. So it's like, okay, here's the... Now, you don't get the joy of it feeling spontaneous.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, yeah, that's a sacrifice that you make. Or you could say that's an advantage that improv has. But I think sketch does have that. It's appealing to me because I can feel like I can kind of think more radically and create like a more subversive or absurdist kind of comedic proposition that would require a very particular set of things to happen in order to work.
It's interesting because, you know, the various groups that I've had, I always tended to take things in an absurd direction, you know, or even initiate from an absurd.
Oh, well, yeah, the
standpoint.
initiation is always...
Yeah, just to try to get people into a, you know, because I also, you know, I think the thing that's missing from both good sketch and good improv in general. Come on, bud. Okay, keep moving. Keep going. Good boy. Go. It's all right.
By the way, did you notice,
Go.
I think one of the earlier groups that we walked by, I was trying to, like, take the right lane, because I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they were, like, very kind of sticking to the left lane.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe they weren't American, like, from their accent.
Yeah.
So maybe their default was to, like, you know, taking a different side.
Are they from a Commonwealth country?
Perhaps. Where they drive backwards on the wrong side of the street.
Were you the one that told me that we basically, or did we discover this together? Come here, bud. Come on.
Is that a lion? Are you scared, Kobe?
Giving him the small dog distance. That basically the Americans drive on the side they do because they were rejecting the Commonwealth standard.
Maybe. I don't remember. I mean, it sounds like I've heard it before, but I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds like a possibility.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I originally thought it was because of like handedness of holding a sword while you're on a horse.
Well, I mean, that's interesting, but it wouldn't explain why that convention didn't develop in other countries too. Although there are some other countries where, like, a switch happened at some point.
Yes.
Where there, like, was a convention, but then, like, once the automobile came around, it, like, gradually went the other way.
Yep.
Like, I don't really know. I mean, it sounds very sexy to think that we did it out of rejection, but I really can't say. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it's more likely, like, that's the convention that happened to take root in, like, the biggest urban center, and then it just spread out from there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about rules that are created socially, right? It's like, if enough people are doing that, then the other people, because they don't want to drive into oncoming traffic, will just, get in line.
Well, I think at some point somebody had to, some authority had to assert a standard.
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm just saying that even if there were no law about it tomorrow, if I went on the road, this is what I sometimes talk about, like some things you do because they make sense, not necessarily because they're a law. Like if I went out onto the road tomorrow, and the law about driving on which side of the road went away, but most likely, 99% of drivers wouldn't have itch itch to want to like defy the convention for its own sake. Really, they're just concerned about getting from point A to point B, and would continue driving on the right side of the road. By right, I mean right versus left.
Yeah.
And it would behoove me for my own safety to not drive on the opposite side of the road into oncoming traffic, because that's what's going on, regardless of if it's the law or not.
Well, you've happened again onto one of my favorite topics.
Well, I know. We've talked about this topic many times before, but how would you call this topic?
Emergent phenomenon.
Well, sure.
Yeah, where there are some kind of subtle clues, or maybe not so subtle clues, that drive a behavior into a certain direction. Drive.
Right, but I mean, it's not a mere suggestion either, though. It's a material condition that if I want to affect a certain material outcome, i.e. not getting hit by a car, then it would behoove me to drive, in the way that the others are driving, Mm-hmm. Most of the time. Of course, there are exceptions.
Like when you're in an action movie.
Yeah.
Hello, how you guys doing? It's a beautiful day. Yeah, I was going to say, though, that I was saying on the sketch and improv.
Sorry for Fari, sir, redaling that.
Spoonerism. I think that the thing that's missing from both of them is a sense of, like, I'll just say art.
Okay.
And I think absurdism at least lends itself to the possibility of them being more artful, mm-hmm. or digging into deeper ideas, or having layers, kind of stretching to exert some larger meaning than just the silliness on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, you look even at the fucking Monty Python, I think that some of their sketches have ended up being almost like art.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, even the Ministry of Silly Walks.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a dance.
Yeah, there's an artfulness to it.
Absolutely.
And the Spanish Inquisition, But yeah, yeah. Why am I... I just saw Eric Idle. I just watched Mom and Dad Save the Planet.
Okay. I don't think I've
do you
seen
know
that
this?
One. No.
It's John Lovitz.
Oh, my God.
Terry Garr,
I have heard of that, yeah.
And Jeffrey... he ended up being accused of being a creep.
Epstein?
Yeah, another creepy Jeff. Creepy Jeffs everywhere. Not Tambor. Blonde guy. He was the principal in...
Oh, Ferris Bueller?
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, I don't know. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember his name.
So he plays the husband.
Uh-huh.
Like kind of, whatever. They're just fucking middle-aged, middle class from Woodland Hills.
Right. Basically playing themselves?
Kind of, but, he's got a bad back. She's got fucking mom hair. Like all that. It's really, it's a delightfully dumb movie, but Eric Idle's in it.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, he plays some really hammy, cheesy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the era, I listened to his autobiography. This is the era where it's like, yeah, we made a little bit of money on Monty Python, but it was still the BBC.
Right.
There was no residuals. There's no, I think they didn't even make any money on Monty Python until the release of that big box set.
I see.
Yeah, I think they finally got paid when that
well, that's
box
good.
Set. But so he had to make a bunch of terrible movies in the late 80s and early 90s to pay the rent.
Well, and then he did the Greedy Bastard tour, which was just him with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, it's smart. He's such his best friend was George Harrison.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And
What a pair.
yeah, right. And he's, he was always like, I don't know which of us got more. I forget which term he used, but like fan appreciation.
It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of thing.
He was a real knave for a period of years.
Okay, but then, look at, again, the Monty Python sketch compared to the weekly routine, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
The pressure of the weekly to keep weekly relevant. That allows you to do stuff like the Spanish Inquisition, like draw on this wealth of historical and literary reference that, you might be able to do in a weekly context, but that's not really what it's for,
No. The weekly context is really just a comment on what's kind of said. Except I was going to say, there's one sketch. I mean, so besides like when John Belushi was on SNL, fucking Tracy Morgan did his Whitey on the Moon fucking sketch. Did you ever see that?
Probably.
It's just the dumbest, funniest, weirdest, like, so Tracy. Like, it's him just in a fucking, a spacesuit, and it's a shitty background of the moon, and he's just going and talking to different people on the moon. And it's just so dumb, but it felt artful. It felt like it had this kind of, it was totally absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember that Tom Hanks?
Hey. Oh no, never mind.
That Tom Hanks sketch?
Is that David S. Pumpkins?
with the dancing Mr. Pumpkins?
Yeah, David S. Pumpkins, right?
Right, yeah. That was I saw that come up in an analysis that I think Wisecrack was doing on Tim and Eric's influence on comedy. But you look at a sketch like that, and it was incredibly, I mean, by SNL standards, it was very popular. It made the rounds. The images made the rounds. It was a much beloved sketch, right?
Yeah.
And it's an absurdist sketch.
Yeah.
And yes, it's Halloween themed, but it wasn't commenting on any particular news item that was going on.
Nope.
It's a perennial Halloween sort of spookiness kind of sketch, know. And that one broke out, and it was like, it was the most absurd and like just very silly indeed. And I'm not really planting a flag on whether or not. I mean, I was certainly entertained by it. I won't say I wasn't entertained by it, so I have to concede that. But that one made it to the next level of notoriety, and it wasn't a conventional, paint by numbers kind of sketch, Yeah.
Well, this. Speaking of painting. You
did bring up Warhol at the beginning of the discussion.
Did you ever watch luxury comedy?
No.
That was. How about the Mighty Boosh? Have we talked about?
Oh
this?
yeah, I love the Mighty Boosh. I've seen. I saw them live once, actually.
Yeah, I saw them live, and Noel by himself. And again, talk about absurdists. And I'd say for them, they capture the absurdist sketch idea in a way that still has a narrative aspect to it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was gonna, as you were saying that, I was gonna say narrative. But it's within
a sketch like moments inside of the narrative.
Yeah, it's like within a situational comedy kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in a way, it's funny because you look at something like Seinfeld, and it's like, in a way, that's just sketch,
Yes. It really is. And it just has, it's basically like, hey, they have 3 sketch ideas that they interweave over the course of one 22-minute.
Yeah, with a kind of veneer of plot, and that actually gets us back to something like The Herald again.
Yes. Well, and again, that was the great thing about the UCB TV show, is each episode expressed the Herald, and also the whole season was a super Herald.
Right. Well, that was true in Seinfeld as well. I didn't know this at the time. True. But at one point, I just decided, for whatever reason, I was in graduate school and I was hating my life and I was looking for something to do. And I was like, I liked watching
comedy helped.
I was like, I liked watching Seinfeld in high school, and I know all the classics, but something I wanted to just be like, what was the first episode of Seinfeld like? So I think I watched like the first 2 or 3 seasons in order.
Yeah.
And it was actually very interesting to see the development of Kramer. Like, he was definitely totally less erratic in like the first 1 or 2 like it took him like a season before he got to
turn
up to the
volume
point
on him.
But Like, he was, like, downright mild-mannered in the first season. He just, like, knock, knock, open the door, like, hi, Jerry.
I just also the idea, that to me is such an absurd idea that Kramer is not a fucking wackadoodle.
Well, he still had, like, weird ideas or whatever,
sure. But they were, like, really, like almost like on the page weird ideas rather than him being, like, expressing his fucking...
Yeah, he was more just kind of like an introverted, like, kind of like conspiracy-mindedly type guy,
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
But in any case, and yeah, so they also had these like super, even if it was just like, is George getting married or not? Is what's going to happen like with this car or this thing? Like they had these arcs that went over the whole thing as well.
Oh, interesting. Because
over the course of the season.
Yeah, because obviously that feels like a Larry David influence.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Well,
because Curb Your Enthusiasm is...
It's less an influence and more like it is his work, right?
Yeah, but I mean, meaning like he influenced the scripts to go in that direction, is my theory.
I mean, and it's done very well in the way that, like, if you don't know about it, it doesn't make the enjoyment of any individual episode any less, but if you do know about it, then you do see it evolving over the arc.
I wonder, I'm throwing a fucking crazy conspiracy theory out here.
Sure.
If Larry David and Del Close ever had interaction.
Well, when? I mean, he's been on the show.
Del Close was on Seinfeld?
No, Larry David was on Saturday Night Live.
No, Del Close, the guy who invented the Herald.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Why the fuck I was thinking of...
Lorne Michaels.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. No, but
how could I confuse Lorne Michaels and Del
again,
Close?
Obviously, Lorne Michaels is aware of the Herald, and I even think Del came in and did some workshops with some various casts at times.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I just because it feels, and again, structure. Herald is just a way for you to be able to lean on the structure during an improv show that then can make like these second and third beats look like magic tricks when they fucking get pulled off.
Yeah, I mean, that's true of stand-up again.
Yeah.
It's like callbacks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, how did that happen? We're back again. It's like, well, you just set them up and you get there. It's all preparation. Magic is about preparation.
Yeah.
I mean, I read a book, I read a Penn and Teller book back in high school called like How to Play with Your Food or something.
Oh, yeah.
And there were two things that stuck out to me most from that read. One of which was about him being a magician. It was to be early is to be on time is to be late, and to be late is inexcusable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that magic all feels like it's happening in the moment, but really it's like preparation from an hour ago that you just didn't see.
Well, or when it's done extremely well, like fucking Teller, he just fucking works on tricks obsessively for years, and then fucking flips them out with the grace of just like, oh, this just happened to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that struck me was. Oh. Yes, Barney, you okay?
What happened?
Oh, he dropped a little something over there.
Okay.
We'll let you guys pass, and then we'll take care of it.
Getting that walk on, bro. Kitty cat. Good boy.
So let me see. What were we talking about?
Penn and Teller's book.
Oh, yeah, the second thing from How to Play with Your Food was Penn was recounting a story about when he was younger, how he got into a fight, or almost got into a fight with a biker in a McDonald's or something.
Okay. I might have heard them tell this story on his podcast.
But yeah, he got into a confrontation with someone who was like, I don't know, making fun of his hair, or I don't know, somehow got on the wrong end of a conversation with this guy who wanted to start a fight, and had him backed up against the wall, had Penn backed up against the wall. Seemed to be no way out, no way to talk his way out, right?
Yeah.
So his words weren't getting him out of the situation. So he said that instinctively. Penn was holding a milkshake. He He was already holding it. And then he, for whatever reason, poured the milkshake over his own head. And then said the guy who wanted to start shit with him just like looked at him like, what? Like, and then just like left.
Just left. Yeah. Well, that's I feel like frying somebody's wires will definitely get you out of a lot of bad situations.
I mean, just so great. Like, don't pour the milkshake on their head. You pour it on your own head.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to in game theory, right? It's like that is the least amount of damage that could be done.
Right.
If there's damage to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just seemed brilliant to me. Like, I don't know if I can articulate right now what I think the lesson is in there, but I think there's a very important comedic lesson and a social lesson in there.
Well, I think, I mean, it's to me, like I flashed on Fight Club, right? Where the scene where he beats the fuck out of himself in his boss's office.
Right, yeah.
You know? Where it's that thing also, I think, to me, like at the heart of clown is like, oh, you're the idiot, you're the asshole, not anybody else.
Right.
You're the one that has to fucking, basically shit themselves on stage and go, wait. Here's what happened. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also kind of a way of saying, like, you think that you can humiliate me?
I can humiliate
Like, no,
you.
you can't. You have no power over me.
Yeah, no, this is interesting because I think that's... Well, I was there's a joke I used to do. I just opened with, who's a real cunt? And it would fucking put everybody on their heels.
Right, yeah, of course.
Because, whatever. I go, my fucking mom. And then people would relax and laugh. And then I'd be like, yeah, if anybody's allowed to call my mom a cunt, it's me.
Right, yeah.
But that's that same thing. It's like if you can make yourself... It's almost like invulnerable through vulnerability. If you just put yourself out there, these are all my flaws, this is who I am, then they can't... There's nothing that anybody else can do.
Well, I remember back when I was reading about, like, talking about game theory again, when I was reading about, how would I call it? How to present with confidence,
Oh, yeah.
How to be more alpha-tastic and, either for the purpose of, like, getting girls or for the purpose of just, like, making it in the world or whatever. A lot of that stuff was written with a very sort of sinister motive and with a very...
Oh, yeah.
kind of, I don't know, toxic, for lack of a better word, perspective on the world and sort of disrespect, like for a desire to manipulate other people, I would say.
Yep.
As opposed to coming from a place of like, let's work on your confidence.
Yeah, get some skills.
But one of the things I remember from it was that, the strong person, if you'll turn around to look at me for a sec, like, you might think, like, something like this might feel, it's like, oh, you can lend yourself more confidence because, like, you're more protected. But that actually, like, confidence comes out when you're like, my chest is open, like, stab it.
Yeah.
Here it is, I'm not afraid of you. Like,
what are you gonna do?
It's open. It's here because, I don't fear you. So have a look, here's your big fucking target. Yeah, and still I'm unafraid. So in that way, yeah, revealing, sort of showing your vulnerabilities is a huge thing of confidence.
Well, yes, and that's, it's also like in a weird way.
It's
an intimacy thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about like when Barney like just rolls over and shows me his belly. He's basically like, you're not going to eviscerate me, are you?
And, and take a guy like Trump, right?
Yeah.
Some people see what he's projecting as confidence, no doubt.
Yeah.
But, to people like me, it's like, well, if he were more willing to actually show his vulnerabilities, he would appear more confident.
Oh, yeah.
This goes even back to, like, essay writing. It's like, or legal argument. It's like you acknowledge or debate. It's like you acknowledge the arguments of your opponent and then dismantle them.
Yeah.
You know, if you pretend they don't exist, then
You're going to get blindsided.
you'll get blindsided, or you'll just kind of look like you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
It's I've heard something like the whatever, the best debaters, lawyers or whatever do everybody's homework.
right?
Not just their own, the other person's, also the third party counsel. They know everything. Well, I think it's Karl Rove. You know, yeah.
It's called Karl Rove.
You know Karl Rove, right?
Yes, I know Karl Rove. Yeah.
So one of the things that he used to do as the captain of his debate team, and he was one of the first people to do this, was he'd just bring in a big rolling file, which is, who knows what was in it. But it was to show that he'd done all the homework.
Oh, well, that's so funny because it's a prop.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-oh. Puppy energy. Keep moving, bud. Keep moving. Go, let's go. Come on. Yeah, it was definitely just a prop. But, you know, he would still take time to fiddle through it and pull out cards as if he's like, ha, I got you now.
Well, you know, it's so funny, though, because it's like a comedian looking at their notes.
Yeah.
I mean, now if you brought in a file, you'd look totally primitive because you'd be like, dude, I have all that information on my phone, so...
Yeah. There was... Actually, Eddie Pepitone had a great fucking bit that he was doing for a little while. And it was one of my favorites. He'd just walk on stage with this fucking massive pile of just papers, like printed on papers. And he could just yell, "These are all my tweets!" And to me, it's like, the funny part is like, they're all on the computer. Why do you need to print them up?
Right, yeah.
But because he's an old man.
Well, it could be the reverse. You could interpret it as this is his comedic writings, which he then put into tweet form.
Yeah, well, that too. I think, and again, like, he was playing in that, where good comedy plays, in that liminal space of like a lot of different interpretations.
Well, I had, and I wasn't intending to be funny, but, you know, us comedians can't help it.
True. We think differently.
I just out of college, me and some roommates, we were approached by someone knocked on our door and was offering us, you know, free cable.
Yeah. Fuck.
Or I don't know, cable for a reduced rate.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it was like
a deal too good to be true.
Yeah. Now, at the time, I kind of, you know, I should have, like, I don't know. He was offering, you know, cord cutting services back, you know. Who knows, the youngins probably wouldn't even know what that meant. I don't know. But the point is, but his sales pitch was just horrible on top of that, you know. And so, but because he was pitching like, no, this is like totally legit. Like, I'm going to get you this cable, man. And I was like, well, where's your papers? He's like, what papers? You know, the papers, like a nice little stack of papers with, like, you know, nice color images of, like, family smiling and, like, looking at the TV and, like, you know, things are like, what to expect from your cable? You know, where's your papers? Where's, like, the thing? Where's the pitch? He's like, I don't have that. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is legit.
No, seriously, that is, you know, I'm pretty good at sussing out mountebanks, you know, in my long life of dealing with scandalous people. And yeah, if you like, I would even say having the prop is kind of like just the first layer of anything, of any, like, whether you're legit or illegitimate.
Yeah.
Even those people that are like, whatever, selling magazine subscriptions or fucking candy, whatever, they always have some little laminated card.
Yeah.
That is like you
got to get through the first obvious lines of defense, you know?
But I feel
you got to do them the courtesy of the presentation, right?
Yeah. The only three things that fucking Doctor Who had, right? The TARDIS, which is fucking his car, his hoopty, right? It'll take him anywhere. His fucking sonic wrench or whatever it was that could basically do anything. It was his gun. And then fucking, I forget what they called it, hypnotic paper or something like that. But it was just a blank card that the viewer would think it was an official certificate.
Well, it's funny because that's sort of like in Star Trek, the concept of the universal translator.
Yeah.
It's like, well, everyone
Hello.
has one in their ear, so...
Come on, buddy. I know it's a puppy energy.
Wait.
Come on, bud. It's okay. Yeah, it's like he's not into puppies. Go. I know you want to tell him what for, but just go. How's it going? It loops.
It has to come back to where that street is.
So this is a one-way path, and then at a certain point that it loops, and then you can come back this path.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to go downhill now.
Yeah. There's some downhills coming. I mean, I feel like we're getting a lot of... Oh, you're not Michael. We're getting a lot of refugees from Fryman. People that just kept on walking up. The universal... So I did not know this about Star Trek.
Yeah.
That everybody has a universal translator in their ears.
Yeah, or, it's translated through the ship's audio or whatever. But yeah, the idea is, all these aliens are all speaking different languages, but they either have technology that's, like, implanted in their ear or that's translated by the ship so they all can understand each other both ways. And, that's their technological explanation. I mean, basically one of the things about Star Trek is because it is rooted in a philosophy of, like, basically atheism.
And post-scarcity, yeah.
Just that, like, there is a scientific explanation for all phenomenon is basically ultimately what it's about, right?
Yeah.
And there may have been some departure from that in Deep Space Nine, but anyway, that's sort of anything that's like Next Generation, Voyager, that's sort of the idea.
Yeah.
So,
they have technological answers.
Or a scientific explanation,
yeah.
I'll say. So even for something like... I mean, it's an obviously, a plot, or I should say just from a practical writing standpoint, if every, if this were happening, if Star Trek were happening in real life, if you take my meaning, then it's like every time you encountered a new alien civilization, like the first protocol would be like having to decode each other's languages,
Oh, yeah.
and that would be, that would take a couple weeks or
Generations,
whatever.
maybe.
And like that would just be part of the routine. It'd be very slow and arduous. And also, but for the purposes of moving the plot along, and for obviously for the ease of viewership.
Yeah, so we did. So you don't just have just. What did he say? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't stand it when people are watching a thing and, like, there's people from different countries or whatever, and it's like, well, how is it that this isn't very realistic? How is it they are all speaking English? And it's like, dude, shut up. Like, it's not... that's not the...
How are they speaking English? Yeah, from ancient Hebrew.
Right, yeah. It's like, come on. Like, we're trying to watch a fucking program here.
Well, it's interesting, real quick.
I mean, sometimes it comes up as a plot point,
Yes.
but if it's not the plot point, then you got to just move past it and just be like, okay, they can understand each other,
So in Death of Stalin, have you seen this?
Oh, yeah, Death of Stalin,
Yeah.
great.
They're all just speaking in their own accents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
And it's fucking awesome. But also partially one of the reasons why it works so well is the guys that he ended up casting for the real hardcore Politburo guys, including Stalin, had all those fucking Borstal British accents. So they felt like thugs compared to Steve Buscemi, who was, whatever.
American.
American accent.
Yeah, Michael Palin was in that, speaking of Python.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great. That my favorite scene in that is probably when Steve Buscemi and the Secret Service guy
Oh, yeah. The
come
fucking...
to his Michael Palin's house.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, your wife is dead, and he's like, well, she was a traitor and it just had to be. And then and Steve, or one of them is going like, no. No. And then they like, his wife just walks in the room and they're like, on claims that she was found guilty, on claims that were never substantiated. Oh, hello, my wife. Welcome back. Yeah. Like the propaganda just changes. Like what is true and what is not is just is just on a
And
dime.
Like he's like a perfect actor. Like it's almost like he's channeling the guy from Fish Called Wanda.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
In that, like that, a little bit of like nebbishy,
Yeah.
anxious, but ultimately has his own fucking creepy agenda.
Well, I mean, Steve Buscemi was sort of, in that way, sort of the unsuspecting hero.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, oh, no one would have expected. Like, he was literally shown like not being able to get his pants on in the morning,
Oh yeah.
and then like he ends up being the guy, you know.
Well, yeah, just like real fucking Khrushchev.
But anyway, so because of that, then that nature of Star Trek, it leads to some wonderful things, which is like these delightful,
Touch the road.
sure, these delightful scientific musings on, theoretical science on like how the technology is working in the future and stuff, right? But then other times it goes to just a totally absurd
Sure.
direction
Yeah.
where it's like, but ultimately, because they wanted to root it in, they didn't want to wave anything away with magic. When the question was like, oh, well, how is there all this communication happening between these species? It was like, oh, well, they have these universal translators that are like in their heads.
I've never heard the universal translator thing. Well, I know a good chunk about Star Trek.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I don't know, second or third season of Voyager, I was just kind of faded away. I think it was also because I was at the age where I was, out fucking trying to chase tail, or whatever. Like,
I mean, what you weren't fantasizing about Janeway or Seven of Nine. You should have just waited for Seven of Nine to come in. They got rid of the manic pixie dream girl and replaced her with a cyber babe.
Yeah.
But there was an episode of Deep Space Nine where the Ferengi end up traveling back in time and landing in Roswell. And then they end up, being the aliens that landed in Roswell.
Oh, that's interesting.
But their universal translators break, so they can't communicate with the humans. Yeah, they just kind of sound like that. And that's a really funny episode because, as you know, the Ferengi are like these like super hyper capitalists.
Yeah, well, they're also like they have there's a Jewish sense or something.
It's a Jewish stereotype.
Yeah. No, but I think, oh man, there was somebody who said that they were, so I don't know, somebody writing about it where like they're basically the Jews of space.
Yeah, but I don't know. That to me is really just sort of like
the overlap.
Like, look, if you look at America today, then you could be like, oh, they're the Jews of the world because it's this greed hyper-capitalism thing. To me, the Ferengi, they were supposed to represent capitalism in the Star Trek universe. In a post-scarcity mindset, here was a representation of the arguments for capitalism. So it allowed them to have that discussion in a way that otherwise wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could call them, space Jews, but you see what I mean, though.
So it's interesting, though, because the first thing that popped into my head when you said that they came to Roswell is that they started some interest-bearing account.
Right.
And that's why they were so rich by the time,
Well, no, it's. I'm trying to think. So, they're the capitalists, and they can be incredibly callous and destructive, right?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
But they were sort of like, okay, they were trying to figure out, like, they didn't know they had traveled in time. They're like, what planet are we on? Like, what's going on? So they were like kind of scanning the atmosphere with their tools, and they're like looking at, and they're like, wow. Like, there's radiation particles all over this place. Like, they've irradiated their entire planet. Like, oh, the atmospheric carbon levels are, like, totally out of control. Like, these humans are so incredibly stupid. Like, what have they done?
That's amazing.
It's like, that's foolish. And they're like, oh, it's like, these are ancient humans. Oh, they're, like, so primitive. It was and stupid.
Amazing.
It was a really funny thing.
Well, that's why Gene Roddenberry's, post-scarcity, like, where are the adventures in a world where you don't have to worry about buying shit?
Right. It does cut out a lot of the fucking low-hanging fruit of plot.
Yeah.
I mean, scarcity mindset comes up in improv again when it's two men and one woman in a scene, and it's like, well, the two men are fighting for the favor of the woman.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a scarcity mindset plot.
Yeah.
So, it's like, remove that. The plot isn't, I need to get the money to pay for the thing. And then it opens the door to talk about a lot of other issues.
Sure.
I mean, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs again.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like, let's move past that part. And now we can start having the sort of the philosophical, the emotional. We can start having the ethics discussions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I'm listening to a podcast. What is this guy's name? Johan. He wrote a book about drug addiction, and he wrote a book about depression.
Okay.
These kind of giant magnum opuses. And they both have a similar kind of thesis at the heart of it, which is it's not the drugs and it's not the brain chemistry. It's the environment that causes people to be drug addicts and or depressed. And, you know, on this podcast...
I'd agree with that at least, 75% shooting from the hip.
Yeah. So, you know, he talks about, like this, the rat metropolis experiment.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of, or the Rattopia thing.
Rattopia, yeah. So he uses, that's part of
Fascinating.
That's part of his central evidence for his drug addiction book. But he also travels all over the world. He puts in his own personal experiences. But he was on this podcast saying basically like, yeah, suicides are up. A lot of people are on antidepressant medication. It's because people are living in a matrix of both real and imagined and projected scarcity. And because they are feeling that sense
So you
of
said
scarcity,
real imagined, real, and I would say manufactured.
Manufactured, that's the other word I was looking for. Yeah, exactly. That because people are living in this whatever matrix of scarcity, that it's having a profound emotional effect.
Well, the thing is like, and I think this is partly lends itself to why, there's a lot of reasons why those in power are out of touch, but why also we don't recognize, broadly speaking, our own despair is because like when we picture scarcity in like a movie, it's like we're imagining like a withering field or
starving children.
Yeah, but like when you're driving down the street and there's like all these billboards of like smiling people with nice teeth, and it's like there's a supermarket right there that's got all this food in it. It doesn't feel like scarcity in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're a few degrees, a few steps away from that smiling model on the billboard.
Well, you're close to it. And also, it's not because of sort of the isolation and stratification.
Sorry,
give me a minute. Like it's not like everyone is feeling the scarcity together, which would lend some solidarity. Instead, like price and income and expense layer the scarcity in a way that it's like sprinkled throughout rather than in a condensed area.
Ooh, interesting. I hadn't even thought of it that way.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like an individual marketing or branding of scarcity.
Yeah, because like you may be able to knock on your neighbor's house and be like, hey, I'm fucking scarce over here. And you could be living in the same apartment. They may be like, I'm not fucking scarce. I've got money.
Get your shit together. Or
I've got slightly more than you or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because we don't have a shared pool of resources. We talk about, when Bernie does those town halls and it's like, okay, the first thing we have to do is like air our grievances. And everyone's like, I want to hear your healthcare story,
Yeah.
It's like, people don't understand how systemic the issue is. And because we can't all go look at the withering field,
Good. Let's get over here, bud. Come on. Thank you.
We can't all look at the withering field. It's all just like, oh, this is this bill. I got the mail.
Barney. Thank you. It's when he gets restrained that he fucking gets freaking out. I know. You gotta stop that. Go.
Oh no, I'm thinking maybe for Barney it's like it's a dance.
Yes.
Like once he gets restrained, it's like, okay, now that I'm restrained, now I can show off a bit.
Yeah, well, I think it's that, hold me back. And I've got a trainer in mind. I'm gonna talk to her about, I want to get him to be a performer.
Oh.
Yes.
As long as you don't break his legs, we're good.
Well, we are going to bind them like a Chinese
Oh, no.
wife. No. But I think he's got it in him because, where was I? I was at the park the other day, and he literally just wanted to jump up at my hand as I was moving it. Right, bud?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we get you to cooperate with society. It's a performance.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, it is a performance.
Well,
First, some people are just more aware that they're performing than others.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people who, aren't aware that they're performing, they're not maybe in touch with their authentic self. They don't realize how divergent their behavior in society is compared to what their norm would be.
Yeah.
It's like they get home at the end of the day and it's like, I'm just fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like, why? Well, it's because they've been putting on the fucking act all day.
Yeah, masking.
Just like that the emotional labor of that is huge.
That's huge. Well, and I think that comes back to the scarcity mindset, right? Which is, if you are not performing as if everything's okay out in the world, nobody wants to fucking be around you.
Right, yeah.
Oh, things are just fine. Oh, this black eye, whatever. My husband did it on accident.
Yeah, don't worry. You don't have to feel sad or feel a negative emotion or express empathy. Nothing actually happens. We just get our drinks and then we go to work and then we do it again.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is. I was just thinking the other day, or was it today, about, okay, here it is. Basically, public education is by design, let's say, for the workers, right?
Okay, just to be clear, are you making a broad statement about public education, or are you talking about public education today in America?
Public education, a broad statement.
Okay.
Right, where it was both a place where the children of the workers could go during the day while they were working.
Yeah.
And a way to prepare the future workers for the market, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now, with everybody at home, it's basically breaking the last fucking promise to the workers.
Yeah, that your kids will be taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that the schools were becoming these kind of prisons anyways was basically what they kind of think of workers in the large, you know what I mean?
Well, it's funny because a lot of it is desk work.
Yes.
And what is that preparing you? It's preparing you to fucking take orders from a superior and work at a desk.
Instead of a fucking desk.
Grind it out.
Yeah. And take a bunch of drugs to compensate for the lack of exercise and your bad diet and the depression of being inside a box all day. We got a drug for your mind, we got a drug for your back, and we got a drug for your belly.
But colleges, they're not shy about when they say well, what's our workforce participation after graduation? What percentage get a job within a year?
Yeah.
They're upfront about this is fucking job training. This is all just to get you the job, preparing you for a job, which, it stands to reason that would be the education in a society that is hyper-capitalist and that, determines all of its value from how much money you have and wants to exploit your labor. It's if they're going to prepare you to be part of that society, then they are going to prepare you to enter the workforce,
Yeah.
And then all these things about let's make people more well-rounded human beings and teach them how to reason and teach them art. It's no.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
We can cut all that. Really, it just matters if they get a job at the end. And then we get sociopaths.
Yep. If you are just trained for a task and you have no either emotional connection to it or to the meaning of why you're doing it, it is a sociopathic task that you're engaged in.
Well, it is kind of like you say, Sean, about the quest for safety.
Yeah.
Safety/security.
Yeah.
It's I need to get the lawyer or the banker or the whatever job because I need the financial security so then I can raise my kids and then so then they can have security and then stave off the poverty,
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with what you actually want to do with your life.
No. Well, and again, the machine requires bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, of course, there are some people who I'm sure have no, you know, they may enjoy being a modern lawyer or a modern whatever. But, you know, that's them.
Show me one! Show me one person who enjoys being a lawyer. That's not a fucking complete psychopath. Because that's the other thing, is there are complete psychopaths that fucking love the law because they're out there fucking murdering businesses and fucking taking people down.
Well, I'm just saying that all I'm saying is that like if on an individual level, if someone makes the case to me that they enjoy their life, you know, who am I to tell them they're wrong? You know? You get what I mean? It's like, I know you better than you know yourself. You're miserable.
Sure. But I'll say this. This is what I think great art, great comedy, great things that move people emotionally will put them in a position to look at their circumstance and go like, do I love this? Is this a thing that I want to keep putting my time and energy into? If it's to raise their family or whatever, that I have a lot of friends who are just like, yeah, I go to my job because I have a family.
Yeah.
And I love the job because of the family. But if it's not, you know, it's not, be indolent unless it's fucking unless it's filling your with a sense of, you know, I don't know. Whimsy's not the right word, but joy or like you're really moving towards some personal goal. But that's the thing, is all of work has kind of been like gamified, but in the least risky way, where you're just getting badges and tokens, and you know, and again, like it's the people at the top that are cajiggering the actual structures of these businesses just to give themselves more money, you know.
Well, I mean, everyone is out for that coin, really.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
I mean, I had a girlfriend who worked for Wells Fargo, and in their marketing department. And I don't know, like, exactly what she did. I did go to her office once or twice.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a job. It's a job job. And then, like, I don't know, a couple of years after we broke up, there was some kind of, like, big Wells Fargo scandal where, like, they were marketing these loans to people who they shouldn't have been marketing them to or whatever.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't know if, like, she was, like, part of the engine that was doing that.
Yeah.
But even if she was, you know, I doubt that, you know, she personally knew.
No. Well,
it's not, you know, but they're all part of it. And it's like, part of that, like, going to a job and, like, shutting your mind off and doing the task, it's like, well, I want to know if what I'm doing is contributing to fucking people over. And if it is, then, like, I don't really want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at my last gig, which, again, like, you know, complicated feelings over there. You know, I didn't want to get fired for ageist reasons that I think, maybe, who knows. But I was afraid to try anything else. You know, to quit and throw myself into other situations. So that was my own weakness. Hello. But you know, they were basically, all of their supply chain was either through Amazon. They used a lot of the Amazon cloud, and most of
Are we on the way to the Rock, by the way?
It's right. Yeah, it's over here.
I'd like to, as long as we're, like, out,
Huh?
I want to take a little bit of time to just, like, do some stretching.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, do you want to go to the thingamabob,
The thing.
the whatever, Iredell Grove or whatever that is?
Oh, yeah, we could do it there.
Yeah.
We could do it there. But, the Rock would also be fine.
To stretch? Okay. Yeah, I'll go do that.
Someplace nice and open. I've been cooped up in my apartment, like, live streaming like a madman.
Yeah.
I've been inside a lot.
Oh yeah, but real quick, to put a cap on it, is like their product before they moved it over to be manufactured by Ingram or whatever was just generating about, I don't know, 30 to 40 pounds of waste per unit. Plastic and technological waste and just the real worst kind of garbage that you could have. And I was just like, oh, and this is to make a fucking, you know, a 20 terabyte server. It just was like, it grossed me out. But they were like, oh, we're going to try to do a recycling program. And everything they did was half-assed because they didn't want to put any actual real energy into,
Right.
But yeah, so that was one of the things that was sad. I think they I was let go a few days after I said this line in front of a coworker. I was giving a tour to a friend, and I was like, oh, look, here's my cell in this minimum security prison.
Well, you never mentioned that detail. You'd think they could take a fucking joke, though, right?
Well, it was Dash, who was this young, computer genius. It probably put him in a bad mood, and then maybe he said something to somebody else, and like, oh, well, what's going on? Like he was like a 20-year-old, just computer genius. His father was some kind of inventor, and he was probably making a good chunk of change, being their lead software engineer at 20.
That's funny though. I mean, that's the kind of thing where, yeah, I mean, art. Okay, so art has the capacity to like break it, make you question what you're doing, but it can also, like after that questioning happenings, it doesn't necessarily mean that you come out the other end and say, oh, I don't like what I'm doing. It could actually like, what? He called this a prison cell? And then in his mind, it's like, part of his mind is going like, holy shit, this is a minimum security prison. But then like the programming part overrides that and goes like, no, like you need to reject that notion hard because that's going to undercut your self-identity.
Yes.
And then you like double down on it.
I think that's what happened. Is this it? No, I don't.
So that's why they get like very, now I'm speculating because I don't really know how this guy reacted to it, but I'm just saying like it can have that kind of, and you see it happen all the time. You see it happen all the time.
Yeah, this is not the Rock, but I was like, oh, this is a little. Oh, there's the Rock. It's the next.
It's the next
offshoot.
This is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Something to keep it. Well, yeah. Okay, we'll go to the next one then.
Yeah. But so I think it was a combination. I think that maybe he was like, haha, Sean just said this, and again, like I don't know if. I know he heard me because I said it kind of out loud for his benefit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I like an audience.
Yeah.
I said it for my friend, and I happened to say it like just in time so Dash could hear it also. So, and I don't know if he snitched me out or what ended up happening. Yeah, and again, like he's at that age where he wants to be a good company man and make the money, and he's not really. Maybe he mentions it to somebody else, but then they have the systemic wherewithal to see that that's a toxic idea being planted in the minds. Now,
I'd rather they be just a guy, fucking chain smoking in his office, being like, "What? You don't understand this?" It's like, of course. Now get back to work.
Yeah. Now I also
it's about time you learned. You're not in school anymore, kid. Like, wisen up.
Now I also suspect that the CTO, the guy who is supposed to be in charge of technology, doesn't know shit about technology.
Well, right, the managerial class, right?
Yeah, but I think he keeps his job because he has hacked everybody's systems and knows all their secrets.
Do you mean literally? You're talking about a technology company, so I'm just checking.
Yeah, no, I think I know he was reading my emails.
It's not this. It's like further down.
Right? It's going to be just before the little.
It's like after this turn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bridge first. But yeah, but this guy was a real fucking creep. He told me kind of like, because I have a way of getting people's secrets. He was confiding in me that he used to fucking go into all these different people's, like remotely into people's emails, friends and stuff, and he was able to kind of like hack everybody's. And he was in charge of the email server and all. Like he knew all the passwords.
Right. Yeah.
So I think here's my suspicion. Again, like don't have very much evidence for any of this, but I think the CEO was cheating on his wife with basically my boss, who was one of the only female employees working there.
Oh, okay.
Because they had a very intimate relationship. Like I get it. They were working together for a couple years in this struggling startup. But I think my theory is that then the CTO guy said to the CEO, hey, I know what you're doing. You're never going to fire me.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And it may not even be the thing that's said explicitly. It can just be fucking glances.
Yeah. Or even just send a little screen grab of something. Yeah. But, this is the politics of any workplace. Is eventually people are going to fucking whatever want to exert their power and their fucking,
Well, it's like, again, going back to the death of Stalin.
Oh, yeah.
That was sort of that was the folly of the intelligence guy.
Yes.
It's like he had the dirt on everyone, and he thought this gave it power, but then when the time came to play the piece, it was like everyone knew everyone had dirt and just didn't fucking care. It was just like the deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's it called? Kyle Kalinske was making a point on that, saying like in the high rungs of power, it's like the fact that everyone has dirt on everyone, it doesn't even like matter at a certain point. It's just like that's...
There's both ways go.
Yeah. It's just like that's just how it is,
Yeah.
Well, and it's not like anyone's necessarily trying to lord the secret that they know about them over them. It's just more of a broader system that just kind of keeps everyone in general check. But Wait a
second. Nope, you're on the right path. I know there's a split coming.
Yeah.
Well, I look at stuff like Bernie. And what secrets does that guy have?
Oh, I'm sure he has plenty.
Maybe, yeah. I think, though, that really...
Oh, this is hilarious.
The control they exert over him has more to do with kind of threatening his family more so than threatening his secrets. You know what I mean?
Have a look at you want a seat?
Oh shit, there's a little office area here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
All right. Well, I don't know about that. Well, again, that's me saying like I don't know if they're actually threatening Bernie's family. Like I don't know that. They're certainly threatening his career.
Yeah.
At all times. But he at this point he's just playing along.
Yeah.
His
career's basically there it is. He's plateaued. He is at his terminal position. Barney, you run up ahead and then you stop. Like a fucking punk. Oh.
I just wanted this kind of like open area.
Yeah. A 360 view.
But yeah, they all know that they've all got dirt. But they all just go into work,
Yeah. Because the power is more important than the fucking secret. Yeah. God, I wish, whatever, I wish I had a lust for power, but I just don't.
Is that really true? I sometimes think you obviously don't have a lust for power like some people do, but you've got, you certainly admire power in some modes.
Well, here's the thing, I like studying it just like in the same way, I'll say studying psychology to understand the abusive behavior that I've, encountered. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to look at the ways in which power operates and moves so that either I can fucking avoid getting flexed on, or know that in a situation where I'm going to be flexed on, I can figure out a way to keep my integrity,
Oh, sure. Well, did you just say earlier, I wish I had a lust for power?
Yeah.
See, isn't that real? Is that really any different than a lust for power in a way? Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, in a little bit. And I'd say it's like this. It's kind of like my levels of desire anyways. It's like sometimes I desire to have desire.
Right.
Like I just don't have much passion for many things inherently in me. And not that I had to manufacture all of them, but there's a lot that like my robot inside is just like a lot of it is... I know it's like an object in motion tends to stay in motion, right?
Object at rest tends to stay at rest. Yes.
Yeah. So if I just kick myself into motion in a direction, I'll end up somewhere.
Oh well, I mean, that's true.
And if I just sit at home, I'll get my triglycerides will shoot up, and I'll fucking have a heart attack and die. You know?
Yeah.
So I just start moving, and then out of that energy and that movement, stuff happens.
Well, yeah, and opportunities and other paths open up.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's I'm not. It's not that I don't believe you. It's just that I wonder if
Where are you going?
It's like, when there are a lot of things, whether or not you like saying, I know you don't like saying no as a flat no.
Yeah.
But there are things like I may present something to you, whether it's an idea or it's something that I want to do or something that I don't want you to do or something that I think we should do or something I think we shouldn't do. And there will be things that come up where you're very just like passionately anti that thing.
Yeah.
And that must come from some kind of place of it feels like it's coming from a non-robotic place.
Yeah, a place of trauma, probably.
Well, maybe so, but
Yeah.
it seems to be something that you comes from a place of passion.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like you seem to are emotionally invested, and other times you're very emotionally invested in presenting the world of the thing, and it's this big, and it's like, well, that seems like you've got a passion. Like passion clearly comes out of you.
Yes.
So that to me, at least, unless it's 100% performative.
A lot of it is,
you know,
a lot of it is, it's a delicate balance, right? Because this is, I don't know, we've been talking about this a little bit at times, where one of the reasons why I like acting, right, and being on stage, and is at some point, throughout my childhood and into my early teens and stuff, I had a lot of flat affect because I didn't quite know how I was allowed to express myself. And then, I ended up doing a lot of drugs and getting passionately involved in whatever that happened there. Then I got sober, and I found that it was almost an emptying out of all of all this darkness, right? This thing.
Well, yeah, you suddenly have to confront certain things.
Yeah, and then my father passes away, and really that period of time was just like dealing with this gigantic thing in front of me, the grief, the house, my brother. And so I was always feeling like there's this rock or this wave just over me. And then when that passed, kind of like I feel like in its wake, there wasn't much there. I was kind of like, I was doing post-production because that's like literally the day I learned my father's death, the day he died was the day I learned The Avid. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I guess I must go into Hollywood and make ones and zeros for Hollywood. Like,
sure,
so
I mean, it's what you felt like you had to do at the time,
Yeah. So, but I don't have any passion for post-production.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm recently now in a spot, and I've got a coach that she's going to be helping me out. I'm now in a spot, having gotten fired from that job, having gotten through my cancer, where I want to build whatever the structure is around these little kind of passions that I've fanned up. Passion for performing, a passion for acting, passion for Barney, like there are these things that I've like had to kind of like, it's like, I don't want to have any, I don't want to be reacting from pathology, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely.
So that's where I'm trying to be careful about what I'm passionate about and what I'm not passionate about.
Yeah, I think that's very wise.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very wise. And I think...
that's great. Also, thank you for asking me about it, because now it helped me sort it out in my head.
Well, we've kind of been having a few conversations about this along the way. You're welcome. I'm glad it's helpful. I like to believe that when I'm like standing on a rock and trying to dispense wisdom, that it could actually be helpful.
Some profundities may appear.
So I'm glad that it is helpful, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think to depersonalize it, it's like, I mean, put that in the context of all we've been talking about in the way that our economic and social systems, crush it out of, it's not just you. I mean, it's crushed out of everyone. Yeah. So it may be you're doing it later than someone else, and I did it later than other people. But like, it's hard, but like, you are just merely, it could, we could, I'm not trying to define your experience. I'm just, I'm just telling another story, another way.
It parallels the times.
Yeah, another way you could look at it is like, you are in the situation that so many people would find themselves in if they confronted the emptiness directly and decided, I'm actually going to seriously contend with it, because it's not easy to do. Well, but at least you are attempting, you're attempting that. Yeah. And once you actually nurture those grains of passion, right, then suddenly, the life becomes more rewarding and feels better. And but yeah, it does take a lot of stripping away and dealing through all the bullshit because it's been layered on for so long. But it's like, in a way, what, you're 50 now, right? 50. It's like I think about it, it's like I think about my dad, right? It's like he's 74, I think, 73, 74. And it's like, if he had that confrontation today, it might blow his mind and make him depressed for a while. But if he figure that out and decide I'm going to nurture these passions, I'm going to find it out, and lived another 10 years, but they were that of that kind of life, it'd be good. It'd be you made it. Yes. You made it, So 50? Fuck 50 minutes early, dude. It's like you've at least you fucking arrived. You made it out of the cave, I
have the possibility of having 20 to 30 years of whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
That I want to do rather than being backed into a corner. No, it's very gratifying. I also feel like comparing this kind of generational thing, I've always felt more akin to, let's say, Gen Z or millennials or whatever, because I've been a little bit immature and a bit of a late bloomer. So I've been kind of struggling with the vicissitudes of more your generation. Gen X is a little bit kind of, they're a mixed bag. There are some people out there that are doing okay, but a lot of people are kind of in the same situation. But it really, I do feel like I'm a person of the history that we're living in, for sure. That was so cute. Oh, this dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got this coach, and she told me to she's got the four realms.
Okay.
Career, relationship, home, and health.
I mean, yeah. I mean, career, I don't like that word, but your work, the work. And I don't mean work in the negative sense, just the work. The creation, the effort, the exertion,
how I'm going to support myself.
All that. Yeah, those are and those are the fucking important things. It's like what you do, and then you said relationships, absolutely. Yeah. What were the other two?
Home.
Yeah.
And health.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely.
And she's building her own practice. I feel like I'm her first test subject.
Sure. Well,
and I think I'm going to do that thing that I do with a lot of people who end up using me as a guinea pig. Is I'm going to push her to kind of a larger idea of what she's trying to do.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
As long as you let her do her work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but that's also the thing is I'm also one of these people that, I think I've told you this, when I went back to school because I was an older student. Shall we, let me move up so Barney's in there with us. Hey,
well,
bud.
actually, it's...
Come here.
Yeah, you'll have to either pick him up or... This is mostly just for posterity.
Yes. There it is. Mind walk. But yeah, when I went back to school, I sat in the front. When I was originally just junior college right out of high school, I was too fucking stoned and indifferent, and I sat in the back and I failed and blah, blah, blah. But when I went back on my own terms, I sat in the front. And most of the kids, because they were kids, I was 28, were just, doing time. I was there asking questions. I made the class about me.
Right, yeah.
And it gave me a really, kind of rich, powerful educational experience.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to try to do the same thing with Carmen
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds great.
Yeah. And it's already inspiring me, you know? It's already giving me a little more energy.
That's great.
And, yeah, it's going to be whatever, space circus, performing, podcast, comedy, like just me as the product. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, it's I'm sure there's got to be other aspects to it, but for now that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you're never going to find all the aspects at once. You go as you go.
Yeah. But yes, I think this idea that, if your dad, whatever, you said he wanted to be a musician?
Yeah, at some point, yeah.
Yeah. What does he play?
I guess, he plays a lot of things. He plays guitar, he plays a little piano, he plays he practices the violin sometimes,
Yeah. Wouldn't it be amazing if he just put out one of those one-man band where he plays all the instruments?
It'd be amazing, yeah.
Yeah. He could be the toast of the fucking internet.
I know. But, he'd have to practice very regularly.
Yeah.
And just sort of have that approach. I mean, even when it's just me and him and I'm like, I'll just play chords along and you do the violin part, he gets very self-conscious about oh, I used to know this part better. I'm like, let's just fucking play through it, man.
Yeah.
Just loosen up, man. It's just me. But he has, and I don't know, maybe he got that from a fucking piano instructor when he was younger. I don't know, but
slam the fucking cover on his fingers. You're never going to play Chopin again.
I don't know, but
no. But a lot of
if he would just relax a bit and just be like,
Yeah.
I'll just put in the time, the quality will come. Just put in the time. He could get, and then exactly, he could put together a little one-man band thing. It would be super fun.
Yeah. How's it going? Come on, bud. Come on. Yeah.
You almost bit it there.
Yeah.
Your foot. I heard your foot tag
I hit it on the way over.
Log. But
I was like, well, at least I didn't eat it.
I do have some secret recordings of him, playing the piano and doing things. So, long after he's kicked the bucket, I can remember what it was like to hear him, playing the piano. And that's nice.
Secret recordings.
I've got, yeah. Well, you got to hear that Andy Kaufman album. The secret Andy Kaufman album.
Wait, what is this? I've never heard of this thing. How's it going?
It's called, I think it's called Recordings of My Grandmother, or I think it's Andy Talks with His Grandmother, or Andy Talks with His Grandma.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically he got his hand on a very early iteration of a portable recorder, hand recorder, audio recorder. And he just was like, I'm just going to have it on all the time.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that aspect. I didn't know about the secret album, though.
Well, the album was released 5 or 6 years ago. These recordings were found. And apparently there's a lot more of these recordings that exist than made it onto the album. But some of the choicest stuff was put on the album.
How's it going? Pretty good. Got a swing. Yeah. It's hard to resist it.
Oh, no. I don't think so.
If this fat ass can go on it, you
just
can go on it.
Just bend your knees and you'll make it. So,
So you listened? You heard it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I bought the album. And for the longest time, I didn't listen to it because
he's a hero of yours.
He's a hero of mine. I wanted there always to be a piece of Kaufman that I haven't experienced. So,
yeah.
But then I was like, fuck that, man. I want to be a pro comedian here. I need to dive into it all. I need to consume it all. And so I listened to it, man. It was great.
It's funny.
Well, some of it's funny. Some of it's him doing these weird audio sketches. Okay. And those are very funny. But then some of it is also one of the things is he gets this phone call from a girl. And it's Andy, it's not working. They're talking about, he's like, look, this is what I do. And she's like, oh, but I want it to be like this. And, it's not working out. They're talking about how the relationship isn't working,
Yeah.
But then 10 or 15 minutes into the conversation, she's like, is that recorder thing on? And he's like, yes, it's always on. She's like, you turn that fucking thing off right now. He's like, no. This is on. This is the deal. It's on. That's just what I'm doing. And he's like, and she's like, I'm gonna sue you, and you're not gonna recording that. It's like, well, then do it. Then come after me. The only way that you're gonna get me to stop recording you is you come to me with a fucking lawyer and take it out of my hands.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, then, of course, we're recording.
Well, that's why I'm saying you got to hear this album, because it's in the sort of realm of this sort of like free speaking audio thing. And like what the consequences of that are, you know?
That's amazing. Yeah, I get it. So what do you think about both Man in the Moon and the documentary?
Man on the Moon.
Getting back to Jim.
Okay, well, I mean, the documentary, I guess I liked more than the film.
Yeah, I think so. Me too.
I mean, they're obviously completely different things that you would consume for different reasons. I mean, Man on the Moon, it really wasn't bad, I don't think.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was a decent representation of what he did, you know?
Yeah.
The performances were pretty good, and, you know, you're not going to be able to sort of put the story of Andy into a conventional box like that, because that's not what his art was about.
Yeah.
But I think Jim Carrey did as good a job as anyone could have done.
Yeah.
And they hit all the major notes. And it's sort of like, I don't know, if you're a fan of anyone, like that Elton John movie was supposed to have been pretty good, right?
Yeah,
Rocket Man.
If you know, it's not going to satisfy a diehard.
Well, the thing is, like, it'll never be as good as consuming the actual product, because that's why the thing was made, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like you can't really hold it up to that.
Yeah.
But as a movie about, my comedy hero, yeah, it was pretty good.
Well,
it's pretty good.
Also, I mean, it's interesting because I'd say I like Milos Forman a lot as a filmmaker. He did Amadeus and The People versus Larry Flint. Right?
Oh, well, Amadeus is like one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah. So, and again, like, I think as far as like capturing an essence of these gigantic characters, Forman was very good at that. I would love to make a Milos Forman movie.
Well, I mean, Amadeus is a little different from the Andy Kaufman one, partly just because of how long ago it was.
Yeah,
like,
nobody knows how Amadeus really was.
So it was a drama. It was like a drama about these two competing elemental forces. Salieri and Mozart. But it was mostly just fabricated.
Yeah.
But when it came to the Andy Kaufman one, it was like, trying to do a documentary of not documentary,
biopic.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm grateful that it introduced a lot of people. I'll tell you what I wasn't a fan of. I wasn't a fan of the fact that the Comedy Store documentary only included like 3 or 4 seconds of footage of Andy Kaufman wrestling people with like no mention of his name, and like maybe his name was mentioned once. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like there was no discussion on him. There was no. Even when they did the part with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And they showed a shot of Jim Carrey standing in front of the neon thing of Jim Carrey being Andy Kaufman at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
They had that shot in it to like wrap up his segment. But they didn't fucking talk about the Man on the Moon. They didn't talk about Andy Kaufman.
Nope.
It's like, what? To me, like...
I mean, in the Comedy Store was his... That's where he became of age.
I mean, I feel like it just... Again, bias, of course, but because he is the king of the kind of comedy he was doing, and because it's such an important sort of realm of comedy, that because it's so distinct from the others, I feel like if you're going to do a documentary on this hub of all comedy, like, doesn't that genre of comedy deserve a fucking shake?
Sure, but I think Zamuda probably, he's greedy for... He's basically the one who's controlling Andy's legacy right now.
So you're hypothesizing that Zamuda told them not to include Andy much in the
beef, I think there's beef between Zamuda and the guy who did the documentary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, that's something maybe I'll do an internet search and see if there was, why Andy wasn't in the documentary more.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll yield something, but that's an interesting idea.
Because I worked.
Yeah, but I would still say I don't care about your beef. It's a documentary. Get over it, Do your job. Be a documentarian.
We're at a perfect crossroads here. You got the dog slowing everyone down. Guys, I get it. You want to be in a buddy cop movie. I get it.
There's another buddy in front of us there.
Oh, there he is.
Barney, what are you doing going up there?
Hey, bud. How you doing? Come on, bud. Barney, let's go. Good boy. Good boy. See, that you just walked past it. Hey, come on, bud.
Barney, let's go. He's definitely getting better at answering when we're like, let's go.
Yeah. Well, he's also pretty worn out. I can see it in the way he's moving.
He's what?
Which is that's the key. He's broken down. Hello, hello. So I worked for one of the iterations of, Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal.
Now, what about him?
No, they had a non-profit benefit thing they would do every couple of years. Comic relief.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I worked on a comic relief, and I think Zamuda owned the rights to comic relief because I think it was something that Andy might have started. And we had so many problems kind of negotiating and getting people involved because fucking Zamuda he was cantankerous. He had a lot of people who either he didn't like or didn't like him. I feel like in a weird way you kind of get this idea that Andy and Zamuda were very close, obviously, but that. And I heard Andy was very likable. He's a real sweetheart. And that one of the few people that actually liked Bob Zamuda was Andy. Yeah. But that's because he fit in the suit. Hello. Come on, bud. Let's go, buddy. But I don't know. It's interesting because he's still playing the Tony Clifton character out there.
I know that Mark Maron had Bob Zamuda and perhaps a bit of Tony Clifton on his podcast at one point.
And I couldn't tell when Bob and or Tony fucking walked out if it was a bit or if it was real. But that's basically the way the podcast ended.
Right.
Yeah.
Sean, I figured it out. Anytime I see a shirt or a sign that says no bad vibes, I immediately get bad vibes.
Well, that's because they're projecting the bad vibes.
Yeah.
Both through the no.
Yeah.
And through the mentioning of the bad vibes. It's like a double whammy.
Yeah, it's like, don't think about an elephant.
That's trampling. The goddamn this. It could just say vibes. And it'd be like, I like vibes. Vibes are cool, bro.
But yeah, no bad vibes. It's really an authoritarian statement to me.
Yes.
It's like if I say anything that you don't like, you can just be like, it's a bad vibe, crush it.
Yeah. And but also like people that are forced positivity.
Oh yeah.
Is like that's a
Yeah, imagine no bad vibes printed on every billboard across town, you know? It's like, ugh.
I feel like that's a social experiment where it's like, before the no bad vibes billboards, traffic accidents were at a steady 4%. Afterwards, they skyrocketed to 40%. Don't tell me what to feel. Well, it's like the way you said it made me think of They Live.
Well, yeah, I was kind of intentionally alluding to that.
Yeah, you tip your fucking glasses, or you put your glasses on, and everything says no bad vibes.
I mean, that is kind of what they say, right?
No,
just keep smiling and keep fucking going.
Yeah, consume.
Yep. Don't question the system, just feel good.
Hello. So
Okay,
far, so good.
There's my Netflix subscription. I wasn't finally getting signal out here.
Yeah, it's
What's your hat say?
NASA?
Yeah, I was like, was that a NASA hat?
Oh yeah, I got it when I was at Cape Canaveral. Cause you gotta. It's a puppy party. They're all the right size. Barney's most likely not going to get fussy. Right? Boy, he just got a lion cut. Right? He comes out of the groomer, he's just like, oh yeah.
I wish my dog would feel that way about the groomer.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely like the prince at the groomer. What was that?
I can tell.
I say Italian Greyhound and Pomeranian. He probably has some Chihuahua in him too. Somebody told me recently that Italian Greyhounds and Pomeranians are this kind of almost universal mutt that's out there, that they just bred like a shit ton of them for years. Yeah, I bet any dog that's got the curly tail is probably a Spitz. You know, got some Spitz in them. Which Pomeranians. Thank you. He's cute and he knows it. Oh, I was going to say, Jim's got a couple amazing fucking commercial commentary kind of runners in the book. It's really well done. And I'm re-listening to it because he sets up a bunch of things at the very beginning that he pays off at the very end. And I was just like, oh, it's fucking brilliant. But yeah, Netflix is a very interesting, makes an interesting presence in the book. It's really quite amazing. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the Crying of Lot 49, a little bit. It's very, 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 very postmodern, very pomo. And he's the main character. So, no bad vibes, bro. You know that song, Good Vibrations?
Yes.
Does it creep you out?
No.
Oh, it creeps me the fuck out. There's just something in the way they sing.
Well, I mean, it's a bit haunting for sure.
Yeah.
But I like the song.
I think it's a great song, but I think there's something very moody at its heart.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that Beach Boys era stuff gets kind of moody and like dark and kind of. I like it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's because Brian was losing his mind.
I mean, think about how bad of a song Good Vibrations could be if it was just like, hee, it's good and it's fun and it's happy.
Well, I think that's what the dad and Mike Love would have wanted. If you believe the history. I mean, they really, none of them surfed, and yet they were trying to make them like the biggest surf band in the world just because the dad thought a surf band would sell.
And apparently it did.
Yeah.
None of them surfed, man. That's sad.
Yeah. I think Mike Love might have picked it up later on.
I would feel obligated to pick it up at least a little bit to know my subject matter. But then again, I don't remember which author it was or what it was. But it was an author who wrote a scene in his book about like shooting a gun.
And he never fired a gun?
And he had never fired a gun. And someone like was interviewing him and it's like, oh, like I'm a person who like, you know, I use guns a lot. And like your description of like how this gun goes. And it's like, it was just like so amazing. It's like, you're really there. And it's like, so like, how long have you like been shooting? And like, where did you get the experience to like write this thing about like shooting the gun? He's like, I've never shot a gun before in my life. What? It's like, how did you write it? It's like, I just kind of thought about what it would be like to shoot a gun.
Yeah, well, but that's what good writing is. That's what fucking good is like going, what would it be like if X? Man, I've been having these crazy dreams lately.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
I almost don't believe it. I'm like, you've had this many dreams that you can remember?
I've been training myself, right?
Yeah,
So,
I guess that's true. If you practiced at it, if
Yeah.
I practiced at it, and every time I woke up, I wrote it down, you would get better at it.
yeah,
That's true.
so part of it is, I am like getting back into a kind of a quasi-lucid dreaming, right? As soon as the dreams start happening, I will start kind of like, let's say, shaping the narrative a little bit lucidly, but that also puts me in the place of like being able to kind of like remember it better.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And then, you know, whatever the thing is that ends up waking me up, I just grab a half dozen, 4 or 5 of just the most recent fucking images that are there.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to go. It's a great way to go about it. Because yeah, if you start getting too descriptive, then like you'll lose stuff.
Yeah.
Even just in like the 2 minutes it takes you to get out one idea, by that time you've forgotten like the third idea that you just said you were going to remember.
And I've done different iterations of recording my dreams.
Uh-huh.
You know, like writing them down. And I would fucking wake up and not be able to read the fucking goddamn thing. And I'd end up waking myself up too much because I'd have to turn on the light. Then I did the recorder on the phone.
Yeah, I have a few of those buried in my phone somewhere.
Yeah, and those are kind of great because they're like, tiger.
Yeah, those are very groggy.
It definitely
Yeah, and then there'll be like 2 minutes of silence on mine. It's like, oh, and then there was also like a bath.
Yeah.
And like, that's it.
And then there was, for a little while, I was in this program, I forget what it was called, but it would basically randomly call 2 numbers in the middle of the night at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Well, I know about that.
Oh, it was great. And you would just be like half asleep, just talking to another half asleep person on the phone. There wasn't any really, I don't know if they recorded those or not, but I would find myself like on the phone talking to somebody and they would be saying some crazy shit. And I'd be like, and I'd look at it and say like Dream Center or whatever it was, whatever the name of the company was on my phone. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go back to sleep now.
I had a very sexy dream last night.
Yeah.
With, an ex was involved. And it was like we were very much on the brink. There was like a lot of flirtation in my bedroom, and it's like clearly leading towards that. But then I was kind of like, I know this girl. If we do this, then she's going to want to like turn it back into the relationship again. And so like as we were like at the brink of it going on, and we were like putting on all this like weird like kinky clothing too, and be like, oh, let's try this on. Look at this. And I was like, I don't know if I like how this looks on me. Like it's a bit too much. I think that was I view that as a metaphor for like trying too hard to make something work.
Yeah. I can
It's
see
like
that.
outside of my comfort zone, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're like at the brink, and it's like, and I do the thing that I do in these kind of situations. I'm like, we can do this, but like I'm letting you know now that like we're not getting back together, And then she's like, oh, but I was going to wait till I give you a week afterwards to decide. I was like, no, I'm just telling you now. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, we can do this, but, like, we're not, like, just know that that's not where it's going, Do with that what you will. And she was like, well, then I don't want to do it.
It's so hilarious. Even in your dreams, you have integrity.
And then I got a phone call.
What?
In the dream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, then I got a phone call in the dream from someone who was like, hey, you know that apartment that you like co-signed with 2 other people? Like, yeah. Apparently in my dream I had like decided to do this at some point, even though I never actually have. It's like, yeah, and they said, oh, well, someone moved in your place and they're like screwing you out of your right to your spot, and something about, yeah, you're getting fucked over, but it's still in your name, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then while I'm sorting this out, my ex-girlfriend leaves, and then I have that feeling of like, oh wait, but I need to like say goodbye and like make nice. But she's gone. Oh, I missed the chance to make it right, even though we'll never talk to each other again. And that was kind of the end of the dream.
I love how your brain was throwing in an interesting conflict in the other interesting conflict. Oh, hilarious. Yeah, I think, like, from a paranoid standpoint, doing like a screen grab of the words, taking a picture of the words rather than actually, because I was typing into Facebook a couple years ago. I was doing the same thing, but into Facebook. And again, like, that just gives Facebook more data.
I don't know that you're really, maybe in some way you can say you're working around it, but I'm sure their scanners, they can read the text on the image.
Sure. But I'm saying at least it's one more step. And because I'm saving the screen grabs in my photos, I have them available if...
Oh, yeah, you don't have to like go scrolling through your feed from like 20 years ago or whatever.
Instagram implodes and takes all my...
I do think about that. I think about, okay, what if I wanted to get rid of my Facebook account? And it's like, oh, but what about all those posts?
We'll do a backup right now.
Yeah, I figured like I could get a backup of it, right?
Yeah.
And how does that work?
So I've done several backups. And the way it used to work is it would just basically back up all the tabs as kind of silos. And then you could go to your timeline as one, your pictures as another, as another file. And so it just looks like a little skeleton of the status update, like basically a little piece of HTML where it shows how many likes how many reactions you got, and then the thing. But it's all got all the fucking text of the structure of it.
Yeah.
So I had an assistant for a while. I had her go through and just take all my statuses, extract them, copy and paste them into a giant document. So I have 10 pages of status updates that she accrued from it. But I have 10 backups on my computer. The most recent one will go all the way back to the beginning. But now the way they back it up, it's so complicated. I think they're doing that on purpose to
of course,
people from destroying their Facebook. But yeah, it's there. You just have to dig through it. Yeah, I feel like I definitely need to dig through that soon.
On the other hand, another part of me is like, just rip it off like a Band-Aid. Just let it go like a fucking sand paintings. This is gone. The posts are as ethereal as we thought they were. Just it's gone.
Okay, well, he'll be pretty good with their size. But let's see. If I pick him up, he'll get a little saucy. Oh. Okay, let me just pick you up, bud. No, it's all right. Oh, see, he's not upset. He's all right. Thank you. Good boy, come on. Good boy. Whew. Yeah, there's definitely an ephemeral quality to it, but I bet if you...
Well, it's ephemeral on our end. It's not on their end.
If you decided to make it some kind of absurdist project, you could just have all of your statuses in some kind of whatever document elsewhere that, maybe you have a random status generator on your website.
michaelsfacebook.com.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I'm starting to fade away a little more on the Facebook, but the thing I feel the most, I'll just say kind of ashamed about,
Yeah?
is how much energy I've put into it.
Yeah.
It really, like, I really got fucking tricked.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time that, like, if I want to think back, like, oh, the memories of scrolling through Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, not really.
It's such, you know, kind of one of the most evil things ever invented. You know, it just stuns people into inaction.
That being said, I now have a gig.
On Facebook Live.
Oh shit! Well, I got some news for you, dude. Hold the phone. So 2 things. One, a friend is paying me to do their social media promotion for them.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So that's good. Guess what? I got a gig next Saturday.
Fuck yeah.
And do you... Guess who reached out? Vermin Supreme's manager reached out and said, we want you on a show with fucking Vermin Supreme.
Fuck yeah. I mean, that's kind of... He's the closest, on some level, the closest thing to what you're doing.
On some level,
On some
yes.
level, yeah.
And he... Because I interact with him on Facebook Live once and asked him about the goat and the fish thing. Just from the comment section.
Yeah.
But I got his attention like a couple of times. And so when they brought up my name to him, he was like, oh, I remember that guy. Yeah, I'd love to have him on.
Fuck yeah.
So they're doing some kind of, I forget what it's called. It's like, because they haven't made promotional material for it yet, but it's like Burning Vermin Man or something.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've just started seeing some of the promos.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, they invited me to do a spot on it or do something on it.
Fuck yeah.
So fuck, dude. That's like a dream, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the dreams anyway.
Well, no, I mean, it's your hard work is paying off.
It's like that's a crowd that I want to be in, you know? I want, getting respect from that level of performance artist is fucking great. There have been people on the Twitch streams that are like, are you Vermin Supreme's son? And of course I'm like, like, well, we won't deny it. Sure, like go out there, say that I'm Vermin Supreme's son.
Well, that's, I mean,
shout
again,
it from the rooftops. We don't deny it, but just say whatever.
That's
Like go and ask Vermin Supreme on Twitter. Go ask him. See what he says.
And he'll say something equally ridiculous. Yeah, that's your audience. That's fucking awesome.
So yeah, that's great. And then someone came on Twitch and was like in the chat and said to me, dude, were you on Kill Tony? I'm like, fuck yeah, I was on Kill Tony. That was years ago. It's like, man, I remember that. Like, yeah, I'm still here, man. It's me. All these little seeds planted long ago. You never know when they're going to come up again.
Well, that's why you got to keep planting seeds.
Yep.
How's it going?
So, man, yeah, that feels good.
That is fucking good. That's a real accomplishment.
I mean, it probably really started with meeting Rod Weber at Politicon briefly.
Burbank? Burbank. Bob Hope. It used to be Bob Hope. Yeah. I'm always hoping for a Bob. Woo!
So, yeah, I don't know how big the audience I'll be exposed to is or whatever, but it's just like it's good company to be in,
Yeah. Does Vermin Supreme have a job outside of being Vermin Supreme?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So
I mean, he was running for the Libertarian nomination for president, but that's sort of...
That's part of the Vermin Supreme persona.
It is, but he was actually doing it seriously, or as seriously as Vermin Supreme could do it.
Yeah.
So now I got a communication saying they want, and when I say me, I know you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They want me to be part of some kind of political party.
Nice.
Like they want, goat versus fish to be like the secretary of something within their organization. And I'm a little conflicted on it because of my sort of like real world political affiliations.
Yeah, and again, this is we've talked around this fucking position a lot.
Yeah, well, it's just here's the thing. Regardless of those other affiliations.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Regardless of those other I guess you can't really separate them out, but just for the sake of the experiment.
Yeah.
Regardless of those other affiliations, because I take politics as seriously as I do, like, I don't really want to join, like, a party as a lark, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to know, like, what is your actual political goal? And if I'm not on board with it, because you can make, like, if you're in the realm of politics, even if you're doing a satire, like, you're making, you still have a political statement, even if you don't really think you do.
Yeah.
So, like, I kind of want to know, like, what are you actually, like, oh, it sounds like fun and absurd, but, like, what's your actual angle? And if I'm not on board with their actual angle, then I wouldn't really want to be a part of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, though, let me ask you this question, because I think with, let's say...
I to be clear, I don't know what their angle really is. I'd like,
I'd say, though, with a lot of these incipient organizations, there could be the possibility of saying, hey, I'll join, but I'm an X, Y, and Z kind of person, and I'd like to see more of that in the organization.
That's true.
Because again, like, I think... Even though he ran as a libertarian, and maybe even at his heart he may have some libertarian ideology.
Well, he has claimed to be a libertarian now.
Yeah. I think that is a convenient place for a satirical performer to position themselves politically.
Oh,
right?
Of course.
Because, let's say if you were to be... Let's say goat versus fish was like, I want to be the chairman of the DSA, They would be less likely to want to... Keep moving, bud. Keep moving. Go. It's all right. They would, you'd be, that fish would be swimming upstream. That fish would be having a lot of trouble.
Yeah. But I mean, Vermin Supreme was having plenty of trouble convincing libertarians that he was to be taken,
sure.
Because he was offering them, I mean, his whole pitch was, and now it's less about me and more just about him, but his pitch was basically like, I'm a performer, I've accrued an audience, and my absurdity can bring attention to libertarian principles, which I'm in favor of. And so, like, make me your nominee, and let's get 5%, and then we can get, federal recognition for being a party and get funding. And so it's like, use me and my celebrity as a springboard to project your values out there into the world, That was his pitch, basically.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even making a pitch like, I could win. He was saying, like, dude, use me to get your message out there.
Let's get your numbers up.
But even so, he still had to convince them that he actually believed in that message, or at least some variation of it.
Here's the tough part, though, for me.
But I don't believe in, in an unregulated market,
Sure. And I would even say, like, on some levels, I think, I'm going to say it very out loud, but I think that libertarianism it's not quite a joke. But again, like, it's as if the fucking whatever, the National Socialist Party were to decide to run in America, they could probably, substantiate themselves as a real political party, but I don't think that their political agenda would have any sway. Like the DSA and the Greens.
Well, the DSA isn't a party, but...
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's not a party?
No.
Okay, well, let's say the People's Party and the Green Party. These actually have, like, their swaths of their ideology cover a lot of the, what's the word for all the voters out there? But yeah, a lot of the voters, a lot of the population will follow their ideology. Libertarianism is a minority even of the people that are like hardcore libertarians. They are such a vocal, whiny, marginal minority. They will never have power because they have no appeal. Nobody wants to get on board with them except for a fucking satirical character. You know.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It's weird because we do see a lot of deregulation going on all the time.
Yeah, but that's deregulation. I mean, okay, yes. So let's say your top 1% of corporate CEOs that we know are psychopaths might have a libertarian agenda, but they're going to force it down the throats of the Republicans and the Democrats because they know that's how they can get their shit done. Because those parties actually have power. And the deregulation from the libertarian standpoint is kind of an idealistic thing. I don't think they really understand the mechanics of it. But the psychopath CEOs do understand the mechanics of it, and also understand that you have to give a lot of money to the fucking Republicans and fucking force their hand to do the thing that you want. And the libertarians, I think that it's such an empty, to me, it's such an, this is the other thing, is like, we're number one, we already have the Republicans doing that job, number one. But also number two, a party that says, oh, we don't really want government, is not a viable party. There's nothing there. They have no place to stand on. I'm not going to be the president. I'm just going to be the guy who would be the president if you would have a regulatory board that was a president. It's just it's a kind of a lack of government. You know, like having an anarchist fucking, I'm going to be an anarchist president. Oh, that's what we just had. Or more of a...
So, I'm not here necessarily to criticize their offer, but...
but weigh it, you know. See what they have to say.
Well, it's also complicated by the fact that I might be actually running for another thing, Sean.
Nice.
I'll leave it off the audio, but... I've agreed to run for another thing.
Well, you're at the beginning of your blossoming political career.
I don't want a political career, really. Not unless I can just parlay celebrity into a, run for a performative Senate run. We'll use that clip later in life. When I'm 60, I'm running. It's like, we don't want a man in towels and a Burger King crowd on the Senate floor. It's like, don't you, though?
Yeah, well... I mean, to me, like, you put somebody in a suit and I'm like, that guy's a serial killer.
We demand decorum while we rob the poor blind and bomb civilians overseas.
I'm going to officially join the People's Party. I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
Go for it, man. See where that ride goes.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
All the people I'm into are into it. Well, that was awesome. That's been like 2.5 hours.
I think I've been checking along the way. I'd say maybe 2. Let's have a look. Okay. 2 and 11.
2
Split
11.
It.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Going for a walk and we're gonna talk.